In this episode of Watch Time, we'll discuss if you should DIY your video content or hire a professional. Right after this. Welcome back, everyone. We have a great discussion today that I think a lot of people have questions about, which is when to use professional video content versus creating your own. And it may not be so black and white, like people are probably expecting us to, as a professional video company, say you should always hire a professional, but really it kind of depends.
Yeah, I'd really say this is one of those topics that I think when clients want to know, like, is it worth hiring a professional videographer? Should I record my own content? Should we invest in equipment? And I feel like they think that I'm going to like lean in and give them the secret, like, don't tell anybody, but you should always DIY your content, or don't tell anyone, but you should always hire a professional. And like you said, it really does depend. And it's not even that we are just, it's not even that like we're trying to not take a side on it, but it's just because what I've learned as a video strategist and what has been taught to me through different video strategy courses, specifically Ben Amos's video strategy blueprint, which we use effectively within our own content, is a healthy video strategy has a mix of DIY and professional content. You need both for your brand.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I'll say it again. A healthy video strategy has both DIY and professional content. So let's kind of start, dissecting, maybe what kind of considerations people should have when they're thinking about one or the other.
Yeah, I guess like the way I always approach it when we're talking with a client is, you really want to think about where is this content going to be positioned on the customer journey and how long is this content going to exist? And I know we've said this on the podcast before, content that's evergreen, content that's going to be hanging around for the next 4, 5, 6 years, like that's great content to have professionally produced because it really, it shows off your brand. It really, you don't know where you're going to be in 5 years. The goal obviously for all small businesses is that you want to grow. Or even like middle market businesses, the goal is always growth and trying to have a place in the industry. And when you think about creating professional content now that could be used for the next 6 years, that's really going to give people the perception, if they're in the awareness consideration phase, of what your brand is, like who you are and what you do. And not to say that content shouldn't be DIY or couldn't be DIY, but if you have the money to invest in it, it's great content to invest in professional video. And I do want to make one thing clear about awareness, because I know a lot of people are going to say, well, awareness content is social media content, and social media content being professionally produced can get expensive. And it doesn't have to be professionally produced. What we believe here, as we've coached to so many different clients, is when you hire us to produce one type of video, like let's say we're doing a testimonial video for your website, and this is for, lower in the site, this is kind of at that consideration phase, decision phase, you want to show a testimonial to a client, that content can be repurposed as social content as well. So we always believe in the on-ramp method. So like trying to create on-ramp content that like drives people to your website from social media. So it generates that awareness and drives them there. And that type of content can be part of your overall, I guess, like production. And you can work with your video production company ahead of time or video marketing company and say, hey, what we really want to do is want to produce this testimonial, but we'd love to get, 5 30-second clips out of this as well that we can use to drive traffic to the website so they can watch this.
Yeah, and I think those are some important points. First of all, if you're investing in video, and it's something that's going to be a little bit more evergreen, you want to maximize your dollars, and so it's great to get more than one piece of content out from that. But also, just that's such a reflection of your brand too. If it's something that's going to be on your website for a long time, you really want that's a first impression for a lot of people. And, you want that to look as high end as possible. But let's kind of maybe go back a step and talk about, what if you don't currently have the budget to be producing professional video?
I think there's nothing wrong with producing DIY content for your website or those areas if you don't have the budget to do it. I think the key to this is, understanding the time commitment and not skimping on the time. So I know we've talked about this in the past. When it comes to hiring professionals, it doesn't matter. It could be video, it could be contractors for your house, it could be, whatever this may be. Like, you always have to think about that there's time and there's money, right? So if you don't have a lot of time, you probably have more money because you're growing your business, you're bringing in revenue, so you don't have the time to focus on that. So with that money, you can hire a professional video production company. You could hire somebody and bring them on staff, maybe as a contractor or part-time to produce this content for you. And if you don't have money, you probably have more time. And I know entrepreneurs out there are probably like, what are you talking about? I have no time. Because yes, we all have no time. But if you don't have that revenue yet, this is where you kind of have to carve that time out, and you have to make sure that you understand fully what it is you're trying to create. So coming up with a plan, and then understanding like the types of tools that are available. You can use your cell phone, maybe using some type of light. You don't have to go super expensive on the equipment. But I think the key here is making sure you leave time for post-production, because I think that's where a lot of DIY content falls short, in my opinion, is they will maybe do a good job setting up and recording, but then they don't want to edit because editing is time consuming. And I think that's a key thing that like we try to get across to our clients when we edit. Why is editing so expensive? It's because it takes so much time to make this content look professional, and there's revisions and things like that. So I think to back that up to what you're saying, like, I think the DIY content for your website is fine, but just make sure you're putting in the appropriate time and get it to look as professional DIY as possible.
Yeah, like we've talked on past episodes and in our blogs about, just little things like having good audio, buying a good tripod, buying, a good microphone that can connect to your phone. They have some really great kits out now that make it very affordable. But just making sure it's a little bit more than maybe just pressing the button on your cell phone.
Well, and I would say too, like, I know we've said this in the past on this show, and I don't know if anyone else is saying this, and if there is somebody else is saying this, I didn't hear it from them, and I feel like this should just be our catchphrase. Like, if your website is your 24-hour storefront, then video is your 24-hour salesperson. And when you think about it from that perspective, like, you wouldn't want a salesperson to come up and greet your customers with, like a messy uniform or like using slang and things. Like, you'd want them to come up and like make them feel comfortable, make them feel like, okay, I want to do business here because they're making me feel welcomed. And your video should really do that. And by producing something that's not great DIY quality, that's what you're essentially doing is like, come check out my employee that doesn't care, that's, dressed like all sloppy and isn't really greeting you. They're just like, and we've all been in that experience in retail when you walk in and somebody's just standing there staring at their phone and nobody's helping you. And that's kind of what is happening when you have a poor DIY video.
I feel like that always happens to me, like when I actually want someone to help me in the store. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm like, let me do my own research, let me look. And then the one time I need help, they're not there. But I think you made a really important point about like just as having a great looking video can strengthen your brand, having a video that doesn't look great and it maybe doesn't even have the right content can really cheapen your brand. It could be harmful.
Well, and I think one thing to think about with this is, and I just feel like this could be some pushback that, anybody that DIYs, maybe this is your pushback. Like, hey, I put a video on my website and let's say you sell widgets and your widgets are $1,000 a piece. And you're like, I put this DIY video up. Yeah, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I was able to sell 10 widgets. And so I made $10,000 off of my little DIY video that I spent, a half a day on. And I'm like, that's cool. That's good. That's great revenue. But the question is, maybe these are 10 individual people, but then think about what about the company that maybe came to your website and they wanted to purchase 50 widgets in one transaction. And then you were like, they looked at it and they go, well, I don't really know if this person can handle that type of order because it looks like they're kind of doing more DIY stuff. It looks like it's a one-person operation. We really need to work with somebody who has good customer support. So here's, their competitor B, and they have a professional video, or they just spent a little more time on their DIY video because they knew it was important, and now that contract goes to them. And yeah, you made $10,000 over the course of a month, but this person got one account, which was $50,000. Oh, and by the way, they also sold 10,000 widgets too, so now they're up 60,000.
Yeah, what's the cost of the missed opportunity?
And you'll never know what the missed opportunity is because you don't know who's been on your site and who's left.
Yeah. No, those are great points. Well, what about, are there any other maybe just thoughts that we should leave our audience with when it comes to maybe deciding, when they should do more of a DIY approach or when they should do professional video? I know that one thing we had talked about before was kind of, getting into that professional video realm. When budget does allow, you are gonna, want that eventually. But just really having a plan in the meantime. But what are some other maybe tips that we could leave our audience with?
I would just say, like, before you even jump into video at all, and I mean, I know we were kind of talking about this before the episode, really think about if it makes sense for you. And I think one thing that's great about us as a company, and I know we've gotten great feedback on this, is I don't want to sell something to somebody that doesn't need it, because I want you to get return on investment from what you purchase. So if you're buying video from us, I want you to be able to know why you're buying that video and then figure out where it's going to go and how you're going to make that return. And I think that that's key because we've had people come to us that maybe they needed work on their website that go, hey, we want to put this video on our website. And some of them haven't had websites. Some of them go, we want to run ads on social media, and they don't even have a social media channel. And it's like they're really putting the cart before the horse. And I think that the key thing to think about is the way I always explain it is there are two things that you kind of need to be like ready to do if you're going to have video, whether it be professional or DIY. The first thing is you have to look at, do you have the money or do you have the time? Because just like we said before with entrepreneurs, like, if you are in a sales emergency and you have to make sales, video is not going to make you quick sales. It's going to be more of a thing that you're going to, I mean, you can run ads, but then you're going to have more money to run those ads. So really what it's going to be, whether you're using it on social for awareness or whether you're using it on your website to help educate prospects, if you don't have sales and you're in that type of situation with your business and you need to make them, this isn't the right move. You need to pick up the phone. You need to start emailing people. You need to work on a sales strategy. That's going to be first and foremost. And then when you make that money, then you can invest in this. And this is something that's going to help qualify leads. So when people come to your website, they'll be educated better. They'll understand what it is you do. Better qualified leads, so these phone calls that you get or these emails that you get, they're prospects that know what you do and they want to buy. The other thing that it helps with is in the sales process. If you take a lot of questions all the time, like a lot of times you set up a meeting and then clients have a lot of questions, especially with complex products. Video is great for that, but you also need to make sales to do that. So first thing you want to look at is time and money. Do you have the money? Do you have the time? The second thing you want to look at after that is your overall strategy, those things we just talked about. Where does this fit? Is it part of your sales process? Is it going to be going in on your website? Is it for awareness? Is it for consideration? Is it for decision? Is it delight content? Are you trying to delight past customers and draw them back in? This is all important to understand because once you know where the video fits in your overall marketing and sales strategy, then you know that it's the right fit. Time and time again, I know we've talked about this, we get customers that contact us and they just want to do video because their competitors are doing it and we want to do it, and they don't really care what it is. They just want to show like we can do it too, or here's our flex. We can throw this video out there. And really having a plan is so important in everything, marketing, sales, running a business in general. And it is just no different when you create a video. So time and money, having a plan, where does it fit? If you don't have both of those things, then I'd say wait, get those things figured out, then either take the time to DIY and do it right, or hire a company to come in and do it.
I think those are some great tips, good things for people to think about. It's when you're spending money, you never want to just jump into something because someone else is doing it or you feel like it's hot. You want to do everything strategically, and that's how you get the best return on your money.
I mean, it's really like, I think we've used this analogy before, but it'd be like if you don't have a strategy, it's like buying a high performance vehicle and then not having an engine or not having tires. Like, it sits there. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. So think about your video strategy and what you want to accomplish overall, and then you can kind of figure out what kind of content is appropriate for different parts of telling your story. So thank you, Bill. I think it was a good discussion, and we'll catch everyone on the next episode.
See you guys later. Thanks for listening to Watch Time. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode.
And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes.
And if you want your question answered on our podcast, go to flexmediacle.com/watchtime.